The Podical sound.
Podcast, you can't win. Talking a good game, you can't win. Topics never lame, you can't win. Win.
Not your average Joseph. Marvelous.
It's ridiculously funny.
I'm Marvelous.
And I'm not your average Joseph.
And we are the Podical Sons. Let's start the show. How you feeling today?
Finer than 10 dimes trying to make $1, my brother. How you feeling?
That's a lot, right there.
Yeah,
Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot, but okay. I'll try and...
Fine like we find wine.
Simplicity.
Too much?
No, simplicity. I'm with the simplicity.
All right, I got it.
Okay. We got a guest on the show. The man, the myth, the legend himself. Tell the people who you are, mister.
I am spoken word artist Dwayne Morgan.
Hey. Two-time Canadian slam poetry champion.
That is correct.
The champ is here. The
And
champ
motivational
is
speaker in my world, because the man... Can I dap a TED Talk?
This is the first time we're having a TED Talk.
At a TED Talk official. You know,
official.
We do a lot of Fred Talks here. But,
Right.
You know, the fuck shits come out. But, you know, now we have officiator for the peoples and stuff to hear. So, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to
Get
be here.
some things, let the people
right.
get to know you a little
Absolutely.
bit and all that. So, okay. Let's jump into the polls. You ready, Smooth?
I'm ready.
First poll of the week was, do you remember the first porn you've seen? And that was a 50-50 split with all the votes that came in.
50-50 split.
50-50 split. Talk about it. Let me hear what you got to say about that. Let's go.
I mean, I remember the first one that I seen, and I was probably in grade, I want to say 5. Yeah. And we were going over to a friend of ours' house at lunchtime. Now, the public school that I went to...
Hold on.
At lunchtime.
Let me interject. So, there were how many boys and how many girls?
No, just 3 dudes.
Okay,
just
3 amigos. All right.
3 amigos, right?
In the 5th grade. All right, run it.
And, I mean, we would go... He had toys. My school was in a rich neighborhood. The kids that lived near the school, they were well off to do. So, coming from the hood, you know where to go at lunchtime. You know
all
where
the
to go to
wrestling
lunchtime.
Toys, all the video. Gotcha. Say less.
One day we were there and he's just like, you guys want to see something? Of course, as a kid, you're never going to say no.
Right.
Even if it is something you're not supposed to see. So we said yes. And yeah, that was an eye-opener to say the least. And I do say eye-opener.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
What about you, Lane? How about you?
It's weird because it's almost like a yes and no thing because depending on people's age, they used to have baby blue movies on city TV.
Right.
That used to come on late at night. And these were like movies, they wouldn't even play movies like that on TV now, right? So there was those, and then there was like, again, we probably remember, young people, y'all don't know that the channels used to like sign off and different things, right? So there was always those high channels that had the squiggly lines. And you can watch through the squiggly lines and it's like, whoa, there's a breast there. There's a thing, you know what I mean? It's just like,
but you caught the moment. You can hear the sound.
Yeah, you can hear the sound and stuff.
I think I mastered the tuner on the UF. Is it UF?
Yeah, UF.
I think I mastered to just get the squiggly lines a little bit straight enough so you can have a good vision of it. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that was probably the earliest introduction. I don't even know how old I was at that point, but that was just like on regular TV, and you could like go and try and figure it out. You know what I mean? So,
gotcha. I think so. For me, I was 3rd grade.
So you beat me by 2 grades. You looked at me in disgust.
No, I'm looking at because I just want to know the crowd and the setting.
Okay.
Right, that's it. I was like, all right, how many? What's going on? Like, what happens? Because that's puberty time.
Right.
I didn't hit puberty and stuff at that time.
Right.
So it was just something where I went to a friend's house and we always would play like Super Nintendo on like this TV. So his family had like this TV was the video game TV and they had the VCR connected with the Super Nintendo.
Right.
So whoever the hell had something else going on in the VCR now or whatever, right? But I guess it was one of those VCRs where say when it went to the end, it fully went rewind and I guess it started right back up again. He turned on the TV. We supposed to play Mario Kart. You see an Asian lady getting it from a white dude. So I was looking like, what's going on here? Like,
right.
What is this? I was like, oh, okay. Then I heard somebody like an adult came by. They're like, turn that off. He's like, we didn't do anything. We turned on the TV. This was what it on. And then they hit stop. I was like, so that's the blue movie tape. That's it, Jamaican mom. That's how I knew it. So I got it now. But some people, I think, do you remember the scene?
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, it was an eye-opener. They were in a hair salon, one male hairdresser, and about three females getting their hair done. Not actually getting their hair done, but getting their hair done.
In more ways than some.
In more ways than some.
The curtains or the drapes? Like, is it the rugs or the like? What is it? What's going on? And you remember squiggly line storyline?
I remember the squiggly line. I couldn't even tell you what the storyline was. It's just like squiggly lines and just trying to look and see a thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what's up. I was just shocked because I think the 50-50 split to me was, you see where maybe some people might be too old and too far back for them.
Right. But
then some people were looking like, no, I didn't watch porn. Like, did you know? Did you? Did not? I'm like, think about even the first Pornhub scene somebody done showed you, people, hey, look at this. That's considered porn.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question for the polls was, true or false? The older you get, the less shame you feel. And 75% said that's true. Talk about it. How you feel about that?
I can agree with that. As the older I get, I can fall and drop back up and not miss a beat and not care if anybody's seen it or not. This is part of life. I think a lot of things that we were embarrassed about when we were younger, it's just because it's happened to us and we haven't experienced it yet. And we're just looking at, oh my gosh, why me? When essentially a lot of this stuff happens to everybody.
Correct.
At some point in their lives.
Right.
And then once you get older, you figure out, shit, I'm not the only one. So why should I feel bad about it?
True. For me, I definitely agree with that as well. I think, I've been to like the hedonism resort in Jamaica. A couple times, right? And sometimes when people hear about, hedonism, you have this idea that it's a bunch of hot women that's there and stuff. And then you go there and it's like these older ladies and these older men and stuff. And it's like they're walking around and they don't care. And it's like, yeah, they're just free to just be themselves. Like they've, you've lived life. You've gone through the stage where you're trying to impress everybody. You've gone through the stage where you had the kids. You've gone through where you feel insecure about yourself. And then you're just like, why am I doing all this? Like, I'm alive. Like, you just accept it and then you just move with it. And that's it. So I think, when you're younger, there's a lot more pressure, to conform to, certain norms, to look a certain way, be a certain way, have certain things. And then you get older and you're like, yo, all that stuff is nonsense, man. I'm just happy to be alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you what pertains to insecurities, both of you, right? Is there some insecurity? Okay. Do you feel that some people can't get over specific insecurities, hence why the shame will still be everlasting?
I mean, I think that's an individual thing, right? So there will be people who can't get over whatever, but I don't think you could say, just one particular insecurity, no one is going to get over it. We're all going to have it forever. I think it's an individual thing. And as individuals, we all have our histories, we all have our triggers, we all have our different things. And I think so for a lot of people, there might be, specific things that they'll never, be able to get over or figure out how to get over. But I think, for most of us, most of the stuff, you just get to a point where you're like, this doesn't even matter.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, right? But I don't expect me from other people. So now the kicker is where I'll meet somebody who might be a little bit older, right? Like I know an older lady where I would feel that, like you said, the older you get, let everything hang. Right. I went to a gym with one of my boys. We were like 20 something at the time. We were like a gap between us. 2 white dudes came in there straight out the shower. Captain Morgan pulls on the bench and just started talking about hockey and dicks is out. And I'm looking like, they didn't give 0 fucks. Right. No fucks was given that day. And I was looking, I'm like, yeah, I'm not about that life. But then like the older I get, I'm like, yeah, I respect them dudes. But I never forget about that day, right? I'm almost 40. And then I'm thinking about that day. And I was like maybe under 25. And I was like, yeah. I need to channel that energy when I get older. Right. Now there's some people where I would think an older demographic, certain shit like shame is gone. But I still feel like some people, I don't know if it's an insecurity. That's why I'm saying the insecurity aspect.
Yeah. Right.
Because with insecurities, it'll kind of linger on the person. So they're like, well, this will never change about me, and I might be this way and stuff till I'm die.
Right.
They might be insecure about their look, their teeth, their forehead, their whatever the hell. I don't know.
Right.
And they'll just continuously carry that through life. So now if somebody was to say, ha ha, with your big, I don't know, forehead or something like that, the insecurities are kicking and the shame was already there. So I'm like, the older you get, you may be so. You've been with that forehead from let's say 10. Right. Most people tend to grow into some of their facial features about the 10, 12 preteen time, and then still carrying it.
Yeah, no, I agree with Dwayne. I think at that point it's an individual thing, and it is going to be a hang up that you can't get over. It's like I was saying earlier, like when you're young and you go through it, the embarrassment might be there because it may be the first time it's happening. It may feel like it's only happened to you, but once you realize, things happen and it happens to other people. You're not just alone in this situation. Then it becomes a little bit more easy to digest and to say, man, I fell today. I'm probably like the 7th person that fell in the last hour or so. Then you can laugh it off, right? It's no longer like, woe is me. Did that person over there just see? Are they on the cell phone telling somebody else that I just fell? Right? It's like, out of your mind.
Fair, that's fair. What's your most embarrassing story as an adult then? If you don't have no shame, you're like, your shame tree is gone.
Well, let me tell you something. My most embarrassing thing as an adult was in front of my son when I went to go take him to get his hair braided. We were got to where we were going, and it was you could either walk around to the front or you can hop the fence through the back entrance. So I was like, shit. I used to hop the fence when I was a kid. Why are we gonna walk all the way around for? So I looked at my son, I was like, you can hop that? He was like, yeah. So I said, all right, let's do it. He went over no problem. I said, okay, I can do this. So I jumped, I got over, no problem. I landed, but I just forgot about the whole momentum type. And did not the momentum carry me forward, fell, black jeans are on dirt that don't do well. Got up, had to dust myself off, and I was just looking at all the little kids just looking at me. I was like, hey, I'm still living. I'm here.
I'm still alive.
I'm still alive.
I'm still alive. I see it, man. I see it.
And I think the only reason why I was embarrassed is because I made it seem like it was not, what I mean? I looked at my son, I was like, you sure you can do this? I should have been like, am I sure I can do this? Right? Is what I really should have asked.
Absolutely.
We're getting older, my guy. Just to let you know. You're not as spry as you used to be.
That's it.
How about you, Dwayne?
Off the top of my head, I think maybe going out with a friend to a restaurant and having a coupon that was expired. So it's like when the bill came, like in my head, I'm just like, yo, I got the money for this because with the coupon, it's going to be this and that or whatever. Worked out. And then you give in the coupon or whatever, and the man's like, yo, this expired like last year. Like, what are you doing right now? And you're just like, oh, man.
Was like $30 off or something?
You know what I mean? So now you got to calculate in your head, all right, how am I going to do this one? You know what I mean? So I think just off the top of my head, I think that one. But I had the money or whatever, but it was good. We still laugh at that one.
Yeah.
I could just see him looking at the coupon and I'm like, you sure you want to use this?
Yeah, man.
I think for me, this was like 2021 summer. I was out on a date and it was sunny day. I'm walking and we're talking. It's like by the lakeshore area off that boardwalk.
Right.
A lot of freaking seagulls and birds and stuff that was flying around there. It was hot. So, meanwhile, I'm talking to her and everything. She's like on my left side, and I'm walking, and a bird shitted on my head, right? But because it's hot, at that same time, I was already going to wipe some of the sweat off my head.
Oh,
so
no.
I kind of wiped the burn shit on my forehead a little bit, and I was looking like, the hell is this white stuff? So I'm there like this, and she, oh my God, I think a burn. So now I'm trying to play it off. I'm like, you play too much. I was looking like, damn, I wanted to run. Like, well, fuck it. Let me find me a water fountain real quick because this done killed the whole smooth operator vibe and everything now. I done got shit on my head. And then she's like, you want to go home and shower? I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm like, I shower twice a day any damn way, man. I don't give a damn. And I was embarrassed as hell in the car. I'm like, I'm not getting no action from that chick. Definitely I'm not.
Nah, you look like bird food.
Yeah. But it was so weird because it was simultaneously, it was like, pop. What? And then I was like, oh, green, white.
See, and it's funny because they always say if a bird shits on you, it's supposed to be good luck.
Yeah, it wasn't good luck that day. I wasn't lucky that night. My guy, look, my man, look at me. I wasn't lucky that night. I went in my car. I drove home. I was like, hey, this is about a bitch. The end.
Oh gosh.
All right, man. So polls are over now. So talk to us, man. Let the people. We're trying to get to know you a little bit better and your world. So tell us, man. How did the whole poetry thing get started for you?
I mean, it's interesting in the sense that I'm actually a shy introvert, so I would never have chosen to do something that required me to be on stage in front of people. Right? That was never my thing. And I was producing a talent show for Black History Month when I was in high school. And at that time, I got invited by Master T to come on to Extendamix to like talk about the show. And then the minute I did that, then tickets just started flying. Because at that time, you know, if something was on Extendamix, it was just like, then this is legit where we have to be. You know what I mean? So it's like the whole of Scarborough started buying tickets. And then I was like, everybody's going to come and they're going to see all my friends on stage, but nobody cares who the organizer is. So I'm just like, how do I get on stage in my own talent show when you have no talent? So I'm like, let me write a poem. That's the easiest thing to do.
So hold on. So shy introvert now wants to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because Extendamix vibe. The Extendamix vibe is that.
Well, that's the thing because they saw me on Extendamix, but then they would come to the show and then not see me, right? Because I'm behind the scenes. But I'm like, how do I get seen? You know what I mean? So it's like, so then I had to like write a poem, and then I wrote a poem, and as I say, that poem changed my life, and that's all I've done since. I've just worked full time as a poet since I was in high school.
Was that poem that you performed? Was that the first poem you ever wrote?
That's the first poem I ever wrote in my life.
Wow,
really?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was like 17, 18.
I was about to say about 16, 17.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So and then that's it. Then I just figured out how to build a life around it, and here I am 30 years later.
Nice. That's what's up. Do you come from like a literary background? Like anybody around you are writers or poets?
No.
Rappers?
No writers, poets, rappers. There's really like no artists in my family. I'm like a black sheep and an anomaly in that sense. Like it's like, the hell did this guy come from? You know what I mean? It's like,
I dig that though.
Yeah, so it was just like, having, immigrant parents from Jamaica or whatever, they didn't understand this whole, what are you talking about? You're going to go do poetry kind of thing. It didn't really make sense. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And it was like, that there's a lot of work trying to get them on board with what I was, trying to do and stuff. But eventually it all came together.
Did you like start doing research after you wrote that poem and then now you got this new fan base and stuff? Or are you now saying you're about to start writing more?
Yeah, there really wasn't any research per se. I think I'm a trial and error kind of person. So I mean, I was in it. The show that I did, went really well, and there was a couple women who were at the show and they heard the poem that I did, and they worked at an agency in Scarborough. And every time they were doing events, they'd be like, "Oh, we got this guy. He has this poem. You have to hear it." So they'd call me up and they'd be like, "Hey, there's this event. Can you come and do that poem that you did at the school?" And so I was going all around the city doing this.
What's the name of that poem?
It's called "In Search of the True Brother."
Okay.
And so I was going around the city doing this poem, and then eventually the poem started to get on my nerves because everywhere I went, people were like, "Yo, can you do that poem? Can you do that poem? Can you do that poem?" I'm like, "Yo, I got to write another poem." So then I wrote a poem to replace that poem, and then that's really how it worked. And then 30 years, I'm still just writing poems.
That's crazy when you think about it, right? Because to start it off was just the love of talent. So that's why you decided to do a talent show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And was it just just the love of music itself, or the like just knowing that people have a talent and you want to be able to help them get it out there? Like, how did the talent show portion start to set off the whole poetry thing?
So I mean, I knew I had great organizational skills, and I knew I had a lot of friends with talent that had nothing to do with the talent, no places to go, no venues. You know, when you're young, when you're black, when you're in Scarborough, like nobody wanted you nowhere, right? So it's like, yo, there's some brilliant people, but there's like no place for them to perform. So I was just like, all right, let me organize this show. I met with my principal. He's like, yo, you can use the school. And I was just like, all right, cool. So it wasn't an official school event, which also allowed me to charge people to be there.
Got it.
Right. So then, you know, I made like, you know, over $1,000 just one time as a high school kid, you know, just doing that talent show. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I could do that. I could duplicate this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then that's it. So the next year I started a business called Up From the Roots Entertainment, and I'm still running that business now. And it was really just a matter of trying to find talent and give them platforms and being able to showcase them and what they do. And that was the blueprint, and still works.
That's dope. Can't be mad at that, especially you did it in your community, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were when we were talking, him and I were talking and stuff, and you got the Scarborough, you know,
the Walk of Fame. Yeah.
So you got that. I was like, the fuck, like we don't have that on the West, do we? I was like, I'm trying to get.
They have one in Brampton now. There's a Brampton one.
Oh, in Brampton.
There is a Brampton one now. I know Trey Anthony's on that. Director X is on that. So yeah, Brampton is stepping up. They're doing some stuff out in the West Side. So yeah.
Toronto.
There's hope for us.
For Alex Trebek and the squad.
Well, the Toronto one that's where they have like the Canada one. You know what I mean? So it's like, so eyes on the prize. That's the next one. That's the next one we're gonna try.
I feel that, man. I ain't mad at that. You got a top 3 poets who you like to emulate, who you like to embody? Because I know you doing your own great thing now, so it's kind of like your own champion.
Yeah, I mean, I've never tried to embody or emulate anyone. I think that's.
What about learn?
Yeah. I mean, there's always learning, but most of the people that I would say in terms of my favorites are like my peers and like contemporary people. So there's a dude in New York named Jamal St. John who's like just a beast. Like he's like just so dope. There's a woman named Queen Sheba she's out of Atlanta. Also really dope. And let's see, I'll even give a shout out to Jay Ivy in Chicago, who he just won the spoken word Grammy. This is the first year that they had a Grammy award specifically for spoken word poetry. So he just won that. And he's
salute.
Yeah, he's the one who did the poem on I think it was Never Let Me Down with Kanye West's first album with Jay-Z or whatever. He does a poem at the
him?
At the end. Yeah.
We were all part of the path.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
shit.
Yeah, so he did that.
I always thought it was Consequence or something.
Yeah, no. So his name is Jay Ivy. So I brought him to town like years ago after that album came out. I brought him to town. So we've been cool since then. And yeah, so they just had the first year for the spoken word poetry Grammy, and he just won that. So yeah, so dope.
Salute to that, man. Yeah. I'm not mad at that. Because I was like, I always heard that song, but I always just took it for somebody from their camp.
Right, that's what I thought too.
Right. So, but then when you're telling me, I was like, I know exactly, because I think I heard that song maybe like a month ago, and I was playing. And I even said to myself, like, who is that? I'm like, who is that? I'm like, nah, we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Answers.
Yeah, full circle.
Question: when you're writing or you're coming up with a concept for like a poem, do you prefer to have like an accompaniment as far as music is concerned, or is it just something that you'll do like freestyle? Like, what is your preference? Is your preference to do it to music, or is it just spoken word altogether?
Yeah, anything I do with music, the music comes afterwards. It's always written a cappella first and a cappella in mind, because more often than not, when I go to perform it, it's going to be a cappella. I don't always have, access to the musicians and different things, right? So the a cappella is the first thing. And then usually if I'm going to do a live show or if I'm going to record an album, then I'll get the musicians involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's it? What does a day look like for you? Like writing a poem? Does it take you a day? Do you just like take like little notes that you see throughout the day? How does that happen?
So I mean, in my phone, there's a ton of poems in progress. There's a ton of like just poetry ideas, or just like even like little one-liners or whatever that I might incorporate into something. But typically, I don't write until I'm inspired to write. And because I'm writing when I'm inspired, usually, hour maximum, 2 hours it takes me to write something. And then it's good to go.
I was playing with this topic, right? Since we're talking about inspiration, do you feel like inspiration is for amateurs?
I think inspiration is for everybody. Like,
now, when it comes to inspiration now, right? Some people would say they're going to go on a mountain, sit on a rock, wait for the inspiration to come back to get this great idea. I'm a firm believer in that whatever you're doing, while you're going through it, that's when the inspiration will come through. Right? Now, so I'm not like let's say this. I'll take notes about things and stuff in the world that I see, my week, and because this is a weekly podcast, right? So I'll just take notes, jot little small notes, and then I'll be like, let's take a deep dive in that. Let's look into that. Let's talk about that. But I want to say, because I'm going to, as a content creator for a podcast, I'm going through it. So that's kind of like the inspiration in itself. Now, if I wasn't doing a podcast, I wasn't a writer, wasn't a rapper or nothing like that, and I'm just, let's say, quote unquote, loser or waste man, where would inspiration come from then?
I mean, it's a great question. And I think, for me, inspiration ultimately is everywhere, right? Like I can be in just about any environment and see something that's inspirational, right? I think a lot of it comes down to mindset. Like if you are a negative person, it's going to be hard to see something positive in an environment, right? If you are wired to, be woe is me and not recognize, hey, I'm alive. Hey, I'm out in nature. Hey, I have all of these things.
Like a gratitude.
Yeah, an attitude of gratitude. Then it's like, you can't see the inspiration. The inspiration is there. The inspiration is always there.
Right.
It's like, do you have the eyes to see it? So sometimes people will ask me about, writer's block and what to do when you have writer's block. And I say, well, it's hard for me to say because I never have writer's block. I say, if you get to a point where the words and the ideas aren't coming, ask yourself, am I living? Because if you're living, you'll always be inspired. So when you feel you have writer's block, maybe that means you need to go outside. You need to go for a walk. You need to go do something different that you've never done before. You need to go to a new environment, a new restaurant. You need to go have a conversation with a stranger. You just need to live.
And so that same piece, the same thing, that's part of the reason why, like somebody asked me, they're like, yo, over 230 episodes and stuff. How the fuck you guys didn't run out of things to say? But I'm living.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm going to and fro here and there. I'm having conversations with this person. I'm having conversations with him off mic. You, other people, my woman will have conversations about different things and they'll come back. By the way, FYI, she said she's going to try and sue us because some of the great conversations her and I have, she wants to say like, no, you took it and make it to a podcast topic. But
before it happens,
it's that.
So we'll make her a show writer. We ain't got money to pay for it.
We ain't got money for all that.
We'll make her a show writer.
But it's that right there. Like living. I am living. So I'm just going through life. So that's what I'm saying. Like the inspiration just coming.
It's easy.
Automatic.
Right. It's just there. It's around you.
I agree with you 100% because a lot of times, when I think, like for me, like I used to, like coming up in high school, I rapped, right? So I would write rhymes and stuff like that. And the best stuff that I wrote, it came to me. It just came to me. Put it down, right? Anytime that I experience writer's block, I'm trying to make it come to me. I'm sitting there. I'm trying to will it. And sometimes it just does not work like that. It's like you gotta go off your experiences. You gotta be able to say, you gotta be able to live in the moment. And then when you live in the moment, that translates into everything else. Sitting down and just wanting it to come to you, it may never come to you.
That's the part I'm saying is for amateurs.
Well, I mean,
you're not living. You're just sitting. You're just waiting. Like a lightning bolt supposed to tap you in your dome to say Eureka. You know?
And I think it's, especially for artists, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because when you look at, somebody who's putting out multiple albums and then the audience is like, oh, that person's changed. They're not making music like the first album or whatever.
They're experiencing life at a different level.
Yeah, but my life is different.
Your life is
so
different.
like I'm now making music about what I'm experiencing.
Right.
And so if I've grown and you haven't grown, you can't expect me to be writing at the level that you're at because this is what I'm experiencing now, right?
Man,
so
just listen to my older stuff.
So you know what I mean? So
no, I 100, man. That's why I always felt. I was like, your life is constantly changing if you're living, especially in in that industry, because your world is not the same as what it was before, right? And much as if you're striking when the iron is hot, so many other things are kind of just spawning from that,
Right.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, when was your first poetry slam championship?
The first championship was in 2012.
You entered that in 2012?
Yeah.
And when did you win?
And
When did you win your
When?
first? Yeah.
that was it, 2012.
You won in 2012?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was great.
Did you
It was
use your
great.
favorite poem that you hated? Did you start disliking?
No, like on the national level, it's like a week long competition. So it's not even about like one competition. You had to come with like
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
a week's worth of poems and battle through people.
Where's it? Is it held in Toronto?
It's in different places every year. So that first one was in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Yeah. So
And now, so when is the second one? Did you win the second one?
the second one was in 2019, and that one, was in Guelph. Yeah.
So why so long between the back-to-back champ? I'm just asking.
I mean, it's
I
like, we
appreciate
don't,
it.
I don't do the judging or whatever the case may be. You know what I
You feel
mean?
like you won in between years?
It could have been something.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? Like there's no lessons that come from winning all the time, right? And there was a few years when I wasn't even in it. But yeah, it's a very subjective kind of thing, right? It's just 5 random people who are the judges, right? So it's like they all know what they're looking for, and if what I have prepared isn't what they're looking for, then it's like whatever. But if you switch to 5 people, I could have been the winner, right? It's like so you can't take it as like even the victories. I'm just like, all right, that's cool, but yeah, those 5 judges were feeling what I was doing that night. If you picked 5 different people to judge, maybe I would have lost. You know what I mean? So I don't get too hype on all that kind of stuff. It's great. It looks great in the bio and stuff, but it's like, all right, keep it moving.
Do you celebrate your victories? Because I feel like a lot of people, I don't want to put it on a lot of people. Let's say for myself, I consider myself like an ambitious person. So when I'm doing certain type of things, and let's say I hit like a milestone mark, in my head, I'm like, that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? And I just keep it pushing and keep it moving. But there's people like my hero over here. He'll take the time and celebrate the win, right? Like I remember our 100th episode. So when we did our 100th episode and stuff, like I don't really acknowledge myself. Any podcast that's under 48 episodes. If you don't got the first 48, we are not the same. We are not in the same weight class. And I said I'm saying that with my chest. You know what I'm saying? So we got to 100, and I'm looking like, damn, yeah, we got to 100, but we got so much more to go. And then my man, he won a ship that night. I don't care what no one said. My man was white boy wasted. He was feeling himself like he lost his car keys. I was so proud of him. I was like, yeah, I got a baby shower to go to after this, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was looking at this stuff. I'm like, I feel like there might be a disconnect somewhere where this is what you're supposed to do, but then I guess you and I are similar. Like, it's resume shit. Next,
Yeah.
do you take their time to celebrate?
I'm getting better at that. But I mean,
progress too.
yeah, it's very much used to be, totally like that, where it's just like, all right, on to the next thing, and then people would be like, yo, you just did this thing and it's so dope. And I'm just like, yeah, but whatever. And the reality is, sometimes we feel self-conscious about acknowledging certain things that we've done. Sometimes we worry about how other people are gonna take it or how other people are gonna feel, and then you get to a point where you're just like, yo, who cares? Like,
Right.
I'm not responsible for how you feel. You want to celebrate, you go do something, be proud of it and celebrate it, right? I can't let where you're at stop me from celebrating, the things that I'm doing. So it's definitely a work in progress, but I'm getting much better at really acknowledging a lot of the things that I do and have done and celebrating the wins.
Have you ever been in a situation where like you might have suffered imposter syndrome before?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's one of those things, because we live in this world of, social media and stuff, it's very easy to, get lost in the online persona of who you are and this and that, and then be like, yo, who am I? What am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, and then, so for me, most people know Dwayne Morgan. Very few people know Dwayne. Right? So Dwayne Morgan is the brand, right? Dwayne Morgan is the out-facing public persona. And, so I always have to surround myself with people who don't let me forget who Dwayne is, right? Because once you're always secure and humble in who you are, then it's like, yeah, you can do all of the other stuff, but then you just still remember, okay, that's the work, but this is me as a human being,
That's dope. Yeah, I always feel like I think it's essential because I think it kind of keeps a person grounded, right?
Yeah.
Where I always like the concept of stuff where no matter how far you go, if your family members or certain friends and family can't tell you like, you're a piece of shit, like you ain't really do it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, yes, the world might see you as, oh my gosh, you might be this person. But another person be like, man, you used to piss your bed at age 2. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's a humility, humbling level to let you know, like, yo, you're a regular person. But I feel like, and I'm not speaking for like pertaining to like celebrities and all, but when people have that expression, like, do you know who I am? Like one of those, you ain't humble,
Right?
Because yes, you probably achieved some things and stuff like that, but let's say this person at that time didn't really put 2 and 2 together on who you might be. But do you know who I am? Like. You need some people to keep you grounded because you're feeling yourself.
Yeah, that's my sister. My sister, like, she don't allow none of that stuff to happen. She's the greatest hater ever. So it's like, it's she should be on the payroll because she's a certified hater. So it's like, no matter what happens, she's gonna find some way to chop me down. So it's like,
oh, you won the championship? But you think you should? You would use this to get women? Is that what you think?
You're gonna slam this.
Yeah. So yeah, man. But it's totally important to make sure you have those kind of people around you.
Yeah, because I always look at it where I'm just trying to understand. The more I understand self, the easier the world and life has has gotten for me, right? But I always look at stuff as where I know I'm just ambitious, so I'm like, let's add this to my resume because my resume is kind of like listed, right? But I look at it where, when do I start taking the time to start celebrating these things? Like I walk around with emergency confetti, right? Like, yeah, I have it on deck.
You got some up there.
Yeah. His punk ass because the YouTube popped off. See, it's my little emergency confetti. So whenever good shit is popping off, chuck it up and throw it up and enjoy, right? And I was looking at like, I have done so many things. Let's say with even like the course of a year, and I probably thrown the confetti like twice. So I was like, holy shit. And I had to look back and was like, now I'm fucking up because I didn't really, take the time to celebrate this as a victory, as a victory. So I was like, I just hope for you and I that we just get better and people kind of understand that you really do. It is important and essential for you to celebrate.
Well, it's also one of those things where the celebration makes you want to have more celebrations, right? And that's the important part of it that we often miss. It's like we're so focused on the work that we forget that it's easier to do the work after you celebrate it, because the celebration gives you a new life. Makes it, yo, now I want to go get that next thing because you celebrated it. So, I tell people, if someone's trying to lose 50 pounds, I say the easiest way to lose 50 pounds is to lose 5 pounds. And when you lose 5 pounds, go celebrate. Go celebrate, go have a salad, go have whatever. Celebrate this 5 pounds. And then you're going to see how energized you are to lose the next 5 pounds. But if you just sit there and say, yo, I got to lose 50 pounds, you're like, yo, how do I start?
Right. Right.
You're trapped by this big mountain of 50 pounds.
Like I always say, stop looking at macro, look at it micro.
Yeah.
Like we're making this big ass mountain when it's just a molehill for real.
Absolutely. You start with the 5 pounds, you celebrate every 5 pounds, have a celebration.
Dope.
You lose 50 pounds in no time.
Dope.
You get a lot of celebrations out of it too, as opposed to just one celebrating, right?
Absolutely.
That's dope. So, tell me about how that feeling was when you did the TED Talk. 'Cause like I said, I'm inspiring and trying to achieve that mark my damn self. So, tell me that feeling. Like, how was it?
It was interesting because, it's I'd never done anything quite like that before. So I had to write something, totally new, and it wasn't tested. So I'm like, I have no clue if the audience is going to get this or they're going to like it or whatever. Yeah, it's like, I've only done that talk one time, and that was on that particular day. Like, I've never done that any other time. So, you just kind of have to have faith and confidence in yourself. You have to believe in what it is that you're saying. And when you have that, it makes it so much easier to connect, with people. So, the response from that has been really great, and I'm grateful to have had that opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. Because I always looked at where, like when I saw yours, right? When I saw yours, I saw the clip on your YouTube first, and I said, okay, let me take in the whole grandeur and stuff from start to finish. And I was looking at it, and I was like, it seems so much more attainable to myself. Maybe because like I can reach out and dap you, and I was looking like, if he can do it, I can do it, right? And I always looked at it before where it's just people speaking from like their perspective and their view from whatever they feel strongly or they can speak strongly about, right?
Right.
And I always looked at it where I don't really see like a representation of myself with the other speakers that I've seen so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to say not because of the black, but I say just me. Like you're like my people, right? Hat, hoodie. To see a person and stuff like who moves like this, there, it's inspirational for me.
Right.
So I appreciate you for that, and I'm pretty sure other men, other ones that know, if they know, they'll feel the same way too. But it was just a new experience to be like, oh shit, he did it.
Yeah.
Like, he did it. Not saying like anybody else stuff like that I've come across on their strides in life, they're climbing and everything, but that's a different kind of stage. That's a stage that I understand and I respect well and through. So, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Tell us about this members only erotica show. How did it all start?
So the members only erotica show, I was first approached by somebody who wanted to know if I would be interested in doing an erotica show, and they were going to produce it. And so, I wrote this whole show, a bunch of, sexy poems and stuff. And the show went well. And then that person went, into a different world after that. So I'm just like, all right, well, I enjoy doing it, so I'm just going to take it over and do it on my own. So yeah, we just started doing it every year. And it's a show where all the poems that I perform on that night are written just for that night. So so people actually, a lot of people come just out of respect. They're like, yo, this guy writes a poem, like 12 poems every year for one night, that he's only going to perform these poems one night. And people are like, who does that? You know what I mean? Well, I do it. You know what I mean? So then, so I write these poems and then work with the band to, to put music to them. And then we have crowd participation. So we get a lot of, gift cards and different things for people, and then we get things
I seen
where
a lap dance on the commercial. So
so it's like,
that's crowd participation.
Yeah. People, come up and just we have like different games for people to do, and it's one of those things where as adults, like being on stage, it's so good to see people having a good time.
Right.
To just see people like just free up themselves and be like, yo, you know what? This is fun. We're just having some adult fun here. You know what I mean? And we have a rule, like kind of what happens at members only stays at members only. So it's like, if somebody goes up on stage and you didn't come with that person, you're not allowed to film that person. Right? Because again, we're in this day of social media. Of course, it's like, we want people to feel like, you know what? I can volunteer. And it's not going to have any negative consequences. People aren't going to put me on blast or whatever.
So are we saying like phones are away at the show?
For the most part, phones are away and stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's like if we came as like a crew of guys and then one of you volunteered to do something, then the rules are, okay, one of us could film you because maybe you'd want it filmed, right? But outside of that, you don't film unless it's me.
Right.
You don't film anything on that night. So what happens there stays there. So that people actually feel like, yo, I could really just free up and be me and really enjoy this thing, right?
I'm gonna need 2 tickets.
And you know what? The thing is, and this is the thing I've never understood. For people who come to my events, I have 8 women for every man at all of my events. And this particular event, I do all the heavy lifting. And I'm like, where are the men? Because I'm like, guys, y'all just have to show up and stand up.
Yeah.
Like, it's right there for you.
I'm going there for research purposes. So, but the journalist in me said, I can't miss the next one. And I don't think I might miss any more after that. Might be an annual event for my damn self. How many years have you guys been doing it?
This is going to be the 7th year that I've been producing it and putting it on. And it's honestly like the most fun I have on stage, and it's really the most fun that people have coming out, because there's no other poetry show you're going to go to that's even remotely like what happens at this show.
I dig that, though. I dig that. No, I'm a fan of like no phone kind of song and dance.
Like that.
Because like I was talking to somebody one day and I said, they were asking me, where do I see like the podcast going? So I said, I see the podcast going to a point where it'll go from having conversations with just us to possible Podical sons and friends and then forth. But I feel like, yes, the videos and the cameras and stuff are good, but I feel like if there was no cameras, somebody might be more prone to be showing their more authentic self because it's now a legit convo. Like him and I have legit convos with or without. So sometimes I have to say to myself, like, oh shit, there's a microphone. But I think somebody else who's never been on a podcast or never had conversations, they're like, I really want to say this, but I might be judged. So they hold back. But when they realize, like,
we got a few friends that they're in the business, and they know we film. But anytime they want to do something, it's like, you guys gonna run the cameras? It's like, yeah, we run the cameras. That's what we do. That's what we do. So it's sometimes it's pulling teeth. Sometimes it's like, okay, no, you guys come on our podcast and we'll kick it, and then we'll go on their podcast and kick it. But it's just like what Marv is saying, is that some people tend to be more free, just like you're saying, without the spotlight that's being put on, or without the feeling that this might end up somewhere that it shouldn't end up, or somebody might see me in the light that I don't want them to see me in. So I get it 100%.
So if I come with my +1 and then he goes with his +1, I can signal him like, hey, you can record, like, okay.
Yeah, we just don't want random people, and we say it from the stage at the beginning of the show, like, don't, like, if you don't know this person, you're not cool with it, do not film it. Anything that I do, it's fair game.
If I see you eat ass on stage, I promise.
You promise?
I promise that ain't going anywhere. If I see somebody queef in your face now,
that might be a different story. You
gonna let that video run? That might go into a group chat. That's it. You have some explaining to do there. But other than that,
the group chat is okay. I think
what happens at the show?
I think I can
happens at the members only show? Stay at the members only show.
Now you say that these poems are written specifically for that night. So unless you're there at that night, you're never gonna hear these poems.
That is correct.
That's dope. That's
That's
what members are looking for, right?
That's all
The
you have to-
exclusivity.
the exclusivity. That's a fact. I really wanna. No, you're seeing me. You're seeing me.
All right.
You're
all right.
seeing me.
No
Is it-
problem.
Like what? May tell us the
May
date.
3rd. May 3rd.
3rd.
May
Yep.
3rd. You're seeing me. You're seeing me, man. I wanted to ask you: have you ever been rejected from your work? Like anything? Let's say if you were to submit like a body of work somewhere, and like, how did that make you feel?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of what I've done and achieved with my life and my career is tied to the rejection. So,
Failures.
when I
Failures and
first started, doing that one poem, and then I started doing some other poems, eventually people are like, yo, do you have a book of your stuff? And I'm like, yo, I'm a kid, man. I don't know how to do none of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, people started to tell me how to go about doing it, put your manuscript together, send it out or whatever. And I got some of the most disrespectful rejection letters that you could imagine. Like, people are like, we don't like how you use the English language. There's no audience for this kind of stuff. Like, it was, to me, you could have just said, nah, we're not interested. But they came with it. I'm like,
keep it moving.
Yeah. I'm like, some of these things was like, wow, you know what I mean? And so my personality is one where I'm just like, yo, I don't ask people more than once. So, when the rejection started coming in, I was like, I need to figure out how to do this on my own. So I had people who lent me money to do the first book. And then I was, this is the days of early hip hop. I was just selling poetry books out the car trunk. You know what I mean? I just roll up a place, perform, bam, 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 just selling books. I'm like, yo, these people said there's no audience for this. And I'm just selling.
Books,
so I take the money from that first book and then I put out a second book. And that's how, today I have 14 books. 12 of them I've done on my own. 2 of them are through publishers, right? So it's like, it's just that always been that hustle mentality. So I'm just like, all right, you don't see the vision. That doesn't mean I don't see the vision. So I got to figure out a way how I'm going to make this thing happen, right?
That reminds me, I think it was just last week I was listening to Jay-Z say the same thing. Like, when he brought his album to the record labels, it was like, ain't nobody want to hear this. And he's just, all the labels rejected him. So you just like, they ponied up and put it out themselves. And come on, he's the biggest rapper right now today, right?
Right. And that's what I looked at it and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
For me, let's say this. This is probably one of my first businesses where more I would need customer support or like customers, let's say clients to kind of come in and be like, every week when I come out here or when we're here, we're recording, I don't write a so-so show. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this is the best of my abilities, the best how I feel and all the above. And I haven't had like negative responses, but I looked at it where, well, okay, now let's take it to other businesses. So I learned the Field of Dreams concept from him. Like, we build it, they will come. I'm looking like, hey, I have this. And be like, it's mid. I was like, the time, the days, the blood, the sweat, the armpit stains. I'm like, for real? All right. And then you do it again. And then, the rejections and the losses start like the lessons. I used to consider them losses. Now I consider them lessons. They start adding up. So when they start adding up now, I'm looking like, you know what? I'm going to just do me. And I'm going to do the best of my abilities. Either love me or leave me alone. And I know what I got in store. So it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
But the butchering you on the English language, that's some fucked up shit.
Yeah. You know what? But it's like, all of that disrespect made me who I am. It just gave me the drive to be like.
It's character building.
All right, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool.
It's character building. Like, I dig it because I think a lot of people are so discouraged from like the few no's compared to like the 10 yeses.
Yeah.
Right? But the no's, they kind of use that, hold them down. I'm not going to do this no more because they got rejected. And nah, you got to keep striving, keep going, be great.
No, absolutely. That's the only way. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Everything. And that's not even like with professional stuff. That's just in life. Like, you just got to keep you gotta keep going, right? You watch in baseball, the guy strikes out 3 times in a row. He's still gonna go back up the 4th time and try to hit the ball, right? That's the only way it goes, right? So,
all right. I don't know if you wanted to ask any more questions. I got one more question to ask you, and then we can move on to the question of the week. You said earlier about for writer's block. Now, to any poets in the making trying to come up and start, you have any other words of advice for them besides the writer's block aspect? I
mean, write what moves you, right? Don't write for the audience or what you think the audience is gonna like, because then it's not even genuine. You want to make sure that everything that you write, you're leaving a piece of yourself on the page or on the stage or whatever. So you want to find your authentic voice, which is why, when you asked the other question before, I was just like, I don't really, watch a whole lot of people or try to emulate other people, because without even knowing, you start kind of sounding like other people or start writing in a similar kind of way. So it's like, unless we're live in the same venue, I rarely listen to like other poets and stuff like that, because it's so easy. Even on YouTube, I don't watch stuff because it's so easy to like not even realize how it influences what you're going to do next. And I want to always make sure that everything I do is so much me that there's no, other people, or people could be like, oh, I heard somebody else say a line just like that or whatever. It's like, I don't want all of that stuff, right?
Right.
So I think that's the other thing, is to find your voice, be authentically you, write the stuff that you care about. And, eventually you find your audience, right? The stuff that you care about might not be the thing that my audience cares about. So you might not do well at my event, but you keep doing you're going to find your tribe of people who are going to be like, yo, I rock with that guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can't always just be like trying to please the audience. You got to please you, and then the audience comes.
Dope. I feel that, man. Respect.
Similar on a similar line of questioning, but going back to just the whole rejection letters from the books and so forth like that. Being a person who initially started off creating a talent show to help others that you seen the passion in, and realizing that they needed to get it out. After that, becoming a 2-time slam poetry champion. Now you're probably looking at you're probably looking like to an upcoming poet, someone to get advice to. Do you have these young poets coming to you all the time and say, hey, like, read this, or tell me what you think about this? And then if so, are there situations where, how do you handle the situations where you may see something that may not be eye-catching to you, or, I won't say no command of the English language, but something that might be off to you? How do you handle that? Because obviously you know from feeling the rejection how that feels. But you also know that can motivate you. How do you handle a situation like that?
So I mean, there's a few things there. So first, there's definitely younger artists that I mentor that I have a working relationship with, and those ones I'm able to, they know they have, it's an open door policy. They can ask me whatever they want.
Right.
And, I'm always there for them as much as possible. For other young people who don't have that with me, I still try to make myself as available as possible, because, when I was coming up, this stuff was so new that there wasn't really anybody for me to turn to. So
right.
It's like reinventing the wheel if I'm not there for this next generation, right? So I'm in a position where it's like, I have to be the person who's there that they can turn to, and then they can ask questions, because the landscape is totally different now from when I started. So I can give a little perspective, but at the same time, I'm also in a position where I realize that there's a lot for me to learn from the younger people.
Right.
The only reason why I'm still here and I'm still relevant 30 years later is because I humble myself enough to listen to young people. And through listening and learning to young people, I'm like, oh, here's what I can do. So now I take the stuff that I learned and how I know to do things, and merge it with what the young people are telling me, and it allows me to still have a career.
Right.
It's not like, you got the old foots who are like, this is how I used to do it and this is how it's supposed to stay. And it's
but that's the fountain of youth though, right there.
yeah, and it's like,
what you said.
that don't make no sense, right?
Right.
So you have to figure out what the young people are doing, but then understand you're not one of them. So you also have to understand, how do I take what I know and who I am and find a way to make it digestible in this new marketplace.
Right.
Because then otherwise you just sound like, yo, why is this old guy trying to do this trap music, whatever. It's like, what are you doing? Like, this is not you, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
you can figure out how to be an old head, ride a trap beat in the way that makes sense for where you come from and what you know, not trying to sound like the young people, right? So it's like, for me, it's a humility thing where it's like, I had my time, right? I had a moment where it was like, I was the biggest person in the game kind of thing. And then you have to be like, all right, I'm only as valuable as who comes after me, right? What did I do with my time to create more me's? Because if I didn't create more me's, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I was only looking at myself, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that now there's, a poet laureate who's also, from Scarborough or whatever, the official poet of Ontario and whatever, and he's one of my mentees. I'm like, yo,
Dope.
that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm supposed to, and the other thing that happens, with older artists is that we get into this competition with the younger artists, and I'm like, I'm not in no competition with y'all. Like, my job, you're supposed to surpass me.
Right. Yeah.
If you do not surpass what I have done, then I didn't do it right.
Right.
I didn't show y'all the way.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, there has to be, a Cardinal Official that comes after Maestro. There has to be a Drake that comes after Cardinal. There has to be, right? Like, if you're actually, pulling people as you climb or whatever, then there's always going to be people who surpass you because you're building the infrastructure to the point where there are opportunities now that didn't exist for you,
before.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I passed my time to do that, but now y'all go and do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not be mad at the young kids for doing it because that was your position. You played your position, right?
Yeah.
Now for the young cats, they have to realize, I'm getting this and I'm doing this because of this person. So it's a mutual thing, right? Because sometimes the young cats don't respect the people who created the platform for them to be able to do
So
the
I
things,
feel like
right?
that's where the disconnect and the disrespect will kind of come in.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like, even like, all right, I'm thinking about music too. Like, I heard a few rap artists and stuff of today, they don't even know who Tupac is, right? And the people who are probably will be like Tupac's peers, would be like, fuck these kids, right? But I'm looking at stuff as like, no, like, we both have to adapt. Like, the old and the new have to find a way to adapt and merge, stay in each other's lane.
Right.
Because I feel like if you're in your own lane, no one can block you. This is your lane.
Right.
Right? But find a way to just work together cohesively. But what you're doing, beautiful.
Yeah.
We hope more people can emulate that, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see in due time.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a competition thing. It's like...
It's collaboration.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I've gotten so many gigs, made so much money off of young people because people have offered things to them and they're like, I don't have the skill set to do this, but I know somebody who does, right?
Right.
And there's other things that might come to me and it's like, I'm way too busy to do this.
Right.
And I send it to them. And it's like, now, so we're both feeding each other, right?
Right.
But in order for that to happen, I have to be present in their lives, in their scene, right? I can't just be like, I've done all this stuff and I'm at home chilling or whatever. No, I got to be accessible. I have to be there. We have to build that relationship where they know, okay, yeah, this is a two-way street of what we can do.
Yeah.
And then that's how the whole thing flourishes, right? So,
That's what's up.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I like that answer.
Appreciate that, man.
no problem.
Let's play with this question of the week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question of the week says, what is your greatest win in life?
Who? My family. My kids.
Your family, your kid, your wife, and your kids.
Well, my kids. I'm appreciative of my wife, but my kids, like, I have something to pass down, right? And that was something that I strived for. My father set an example for me. He did all what he had to do because he knew that he was going to pass it down eventually to me. And I took it and I ran with it. So when I got the opportunity and the chance to say, hey, and it's not to say that I wouldn't be able to mentor anybody else that's not my children or, you know.
Yeah, like I was going to say, like a protege or a successor.
Yeah. It's not to say that, but I think just seeing the mannerisms in them and knowing that this is me. I can see me at this stage. I can see me at this stage. I can see me at, hey, I know this stage. Let me tell you something about this stage. Correct that stage. Going on. Oh, you corrected that stage. Okay. Here's my resources because I built, this is just waiting for you here. The treasure now can go fall into your lap, right? And I'm glad for me now is for my kids to get up to speed to where they can honestly look and see what I've been doing or what I've done and be able to appreciate it. Because stuff like that when you're a kid, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't until I got into I want to say maybe my early to mid 20s, I really started appreciating my father for who he was. He wasn't any superstar. He wasn't anyone that, you know, that the world would follow. But he was an honest man, a solid man. He had all the qualities that you want, and he worked hard for everything. And he instilled those qualities in me. And it's like you don't realize that until you get to a certain age. He's like, why am I idling this person? You know what I mean? Why? Because he's on a TV, because he's got hundreds of thousands of fans. I said, no, he has no connection to me. Right? Like,
he probably don't know you exist.
He don't know I exist. Here's this person in front of me who knows I exist. And the things that he does is for the sole purpose of making sure I don't just exist, but I also progress in my existence.
And win.
Yeah. And so once I realized that, I was like, okay, this is what it's about. It's exactly what Dwayne is saying. You know what I mean? Although he's mentoring peers and those younger to him, it's the same situation. It's the same feeling when you're able to put down a foundation, a solid enough foundation where these kids can now take off and grow on. So I'm just waiting. I mean, I think I put the foundation there. I'm just waiting for them now to see it and grasp onto it and then take it to wherever they can go.
Okay. For me, would probably be when I learned to start. When I started to learn how to unlearn bad behavior and bad things was probably like one of my greatest achievements and stuff I've done so far. Like I want to say, I know for like even something like I was homophobic in like my 20s. Right. Like no, not in my 20s. I'm saying my teens to like my early 20s. And I work in healthcare, and now I'm working around like gay nurses and everything. And I'm like, oh, these people are just people like me, right? It's just their preference of what they do in their off time still has nothing to do with me. So I have to look at them and deal with them as people. And then when I had conversations with them, be like, oh shit, that's a people thing, you know? So it was a kind of a level of understanding, me like, what other things that like bad concepts and stuff I could have said. So that's why a lot of times when I talk, or if I'm pertaining to a particular topic, I don't only just look from my point of view. I look at the complete opposite, right? Because I might be pro this and somebody else might be anti this. So now I have to figure out a middle ground for us to at least have a conversation and understanding between each other. And since then, I want to say, I didn't consider myself like an introvert, but I was probably more shy. But after that, I just learned how to speak and deal with people in a better manner. And so far, it's been taking me beyond places and doors haven't been closed. And touch wood, hope it stays like that.
All right, absolutely. That's dope.
About yourself?
I I mean, I think mine's going to be very, very similar. I think there's nothing that I've done and nothing that I probably will ever achieve that's greater than my daughter. She's like the best creation that I've made. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, at her age, she's smarter than I was at that age. She's more talented than I was at that age. So it's really, you know, same kind of thing of you laying the foundation, and then at the certain point, then you got to make the choices, right? You got to you got to decide for yourself what you're gonna do with all of this stuff. Like I can, only so much I can do.
Right.
Show you the way, tell you this is right, this is wrong, blah blah blah. But then you gotta choose, right? And you know, I've deliberately not hid, you know, parts of my life from her because I feel like growing up with the parents that I did, there were certain things that they didn't show us or explain to us. Like they didn't teach us how banking works or how savings works or stuff like that. So then, you know, I went to York University, and the first week I got all these credit cards, and then I was in debt for like 10 years, right? Because nobody had taught me about those kind of things. So, you know, with my daughter, I'm like, this is debit, this is credit, this is my statement, this is interest, this is whatever. So that it's like she can't say I didn't know.
Right.
She's still gonna make her choices, but at least I could say, "Hey, I told you about all that.
I told you.
I showed you, right? I let you see how it all works. I explain all that kind of stuff." So, I mean, I think the joy that comes from, you know, being her dad is also one of the things that brings me a lot of sadness for men who are out there who want to pass on their last name but don't pass on any knowledge. Don't pass on any skills. They just like pass on semen. And it's like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Y'all out here proud that you got 7 kids, this and that. None of your kids know you.
Right.
None of your kids can say, this is what I learned from my dad. This is what my dad showed me, whatever. Like, you're missing out on the joy of being able to like see this person grow and develop and look at you with a level of respect that is different from any other kind of respect, because when you look at them, you see yourself in them. Like, you see that reflection. So it's different from like if you give me respect or whatever. It's just different because when I look at my daughter, I see myself. Right? You know, so, you know, it's still one of those things where too often in our community, there's dudes and like the kids is just a badge of honor, and you're leaving these women with this bag of kids to try to figure out and stuff, and it's like, it's not making any kind of sense.
Facts.
No.
Because the gift is in being present. That's it.
Oh, is that in one of your poems? Like,
It's not, but you know.
that was poetic.
You know, we're gonna snap for that.
Present.
We're gonna snap for that. We're gonna snap for that.
Woo, that hit. That's what's up. Not mad at that. All right, let's get to the Ask the Sons, man. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Gentlemen. All right. First Ask the Sons question comes from T Fox 1107. Would your younger self be proud of the person you've become?
For me, 100%, absolutely.
That's what's up. How about yourself?
I would say yes.
Yeah, my younger self might just have a complaint about the height. I always thought I was gonna be taller.
Right.
My mom hyped me up real good, so salute to my mom. I love you so much. But it was kind of like she's like,
fell short.
No, because she said screw you. She said she's always like, yeah, she's like, you're gonna grow up when you grow up and everything like that. Make sure you eat well, you know, just grow out a nice beard and everything. You'll be tall, dark, and handsome. Got the dark and handsome part, just missing the tall part.
I always tell them I got the 2/3.
Yeah,
I got the dark and handsome. The dark and handsome
kind of man, you know.
2/3 is still good.
Yeah, but other than that, I want to say I've come away.
Right.
I've come away, so I know definitely younger self would always be proud. Because I even try to make sure, like, to check myself. I was looking at stuff. I heard Kanye say it one time. He's like, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, like, I'm not in a custody battle with my inner child, right? And then I can't remember who said it, but I heard act childlike, not childish. So I was trying to make sure, like, would my inner child still be proud of the adult that I've become?
Right.
So I always try to G-check myself, like, I know I was probably more nicer when I was younger, and like certain aspects, because kids are kind of more free and gullible to some things, and adults, I want to say, experiences kind of mold you a different way. But I try to look at it stuff as like, no, I could be better. And so yes, I know my younger self would be proud of who I've become.
Nice.
Dope.
Next question comes from My Coconuts. These names are getting wild. What is the hardest person to get along with? For me, I think for me, a racist, because you're already using like what I look like to kind of prevent you from having like a proper conversation and stuff with me, right? I don't want to say like a closed-minded person, but I just want to say like that particular type of person, because I feel like whatever's closed, any door that's closed can be open. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm going to get a bit more abstract with this one, and I think my answer would be the person I was yesterday.
Ooh.
Oh.
And, we often buy into the idea of who we are, and we forget that every day is a new opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you do something yesterday and you screw up, that doesn't mean you are a screw up. It means I screwed up yesterday.
Right.
Right? So that means today, I don't have to be a screw up. Today I can make a different choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do I let go of what I did yesterday, who I was yesterday, to embrace who I have the potential to be today? So I think that war often exists within a lot of us, right? Where it's like, I heard someone say one time where it's like sometimes we use our past to rob ourselves of our present, because we're so attached to what happened in the past that we just bring it right into the present as if it's still happening.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the past. That's not even happening anymore. But we just keep reliving this thing over and over and over again as if it's like still happening in the present. So I think being able to let go of who I was and the ideas I have of who I was yesterday to be able to embrace the potential of today.
Feel that. Talk to things.
I would say, a person who's not. Well, I'm going to say open-minded. I'm going to say open-minded.
A person who's not open-minded?
That's
a closed-minded person?
That's a closed-minded person.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I feel we're not going to know everything. It's impossible for us to know everything. And even with the things that we do think we know that is right, time can only tell, right? That if it stays right or if it becomes wrong. And if you're strong and wrong, what is it that you learn? So I find myself, as soon as I start a conversation with a person who I feel is going to be like that, I end it quickly. I don't want to put myself through that stress. I don't want to put myself through all of that. But if I find a person who's open-minded, that conversation could go on for hours. Because it's an opportunity for us to exchange ideas. And you know me, I'm always a fan of learning, whether it's something new or whether it's just a new way of doing something that's already been there. Like that's just me. And again, inspiration can come from anywhere, right? So just that simple conversation that we're having, the simple disagreement can bring about an inspiration of an idea. But you just can't get that from somebody who just has that one line of thinking and nothing else.
Ceiling. A mind is like a parachute, works better when it's open.
Right.
Right?
So, absolutely.
Fair. All right. Last question comes from Old But Not Bold. What should you never do on the internet?
There's a lot of things you should never do on the internet.
But it's done.
What is done?
But it's been done.
What has been done?
I think use your real name on social media sites and apps. I think that's a major thing.
Yeah.
For me. Like I want to say, if you might be a celebrity and we know you as that, and then you touch platform, then yeah, so well. But I want to say anybody else, like, regular Joe Schmo, your name is like John Smith. Don't come out here with John Smith 86 if you were born. Let's not do that, my guy.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that. What do you got?
I think people are in this thing where they just overshare and just create problems that they don't necessarily need. And for example, like, you know, you could be in a happy relationship and then, you know, you post, oh, I'm sick and I'm home and in bed or whatever. And some woman responds, oh, I thought you were in a relationship. How come she's not making you soup or whatever? Now, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. Why isn't she making me soup? Now, this woman's like, yo, if I was your woman, I'd be making you soup. And now you start thinking about things, and now all of a sudden, you woke up with no problem.
Right.
But now there's a problem because now she's not making you soup. So now you have a problem. And now you've just invited people into your business and into your relationship that have no place to be there.
And let the church say amen.
Yo, keep your business to yourself.
Let the church say amen. If this, I'd have to second that, man. It's just like I find I find like people just okay. I get the happy times, the happy moments, because I can consider that a win. If you want to share that, go ahead. But some of the personal stuff that I see, I'm like, man, I don't really want to see this. And then if I look at it, I'm like, this does look like ammunition that can be used against you at some point, at some time. Man,
my funniest thing when I be seeing is that like if I know a person's in a relationship and they start posting up some shit like about like he hurt. Why is the person that make you cry is the one that makes you laugh? I was like, yeah, trouble in paradise. Like, and those things and stuff like. I don't control anybody what they post. I always tell people I'm mindful of what I post.
Right.
Like I don't even have over. I always say I always keep like 68 posts because I'm not gonna do a 69 for Instagram. I'm gonna do 69 for my woman, and then we'll call it a day. You know what I'm saying? But I'm mindful to the fact that I'm like, yes, I agree with this. All the above, and I know who might be following me and all that type of thing because I'm still living for me. But I'm not gonna overshare. Like people, this is my meal I'm eating at now. We're in Vegas for the next week. Oh my gosh, they robbed us when we came back from Vegas. Shut the fuck up and live. That's it.
But then, and it's again a double-edged sword because I always argue with him, right? I'm like,
I don't post enough.
I say, hey, whether you like it or not, we're kind of in the public eye. So at some point, you gotta give them at least something. They want to know at least something about you. Do you find that with
I'm gonna have a photo with a TED Talk specialist,
Dwayne Morgan, the brand, and being Dwayne, because a lot of times people want to know more than just the brand, and we argue about that. Some people have misconceptions because they don't know, they don't have that side, they don't see that side. Do you feel like a necessary need to just show a little bit of that to just let them know, hey, yeah, I am Dwayne Morgan, the brand, but I'm Dwayne Morgan, a proud father of a girl. You don't have to say who she is, but just a daughter who's doing well. Like it's because some people look at it and like, okay, you know what I mean? He has other things in mind that other than just poetry, right? He's like he's a father. He takes care of his children. He's not a waste man or a deadbeat dad. You know what I mean? Because who knows what kind of conceptions they make up in their head when they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Do you ever feel like the need?
I don't know if I feel it's a need per se, but I mean it is something that I do because I think. But for me, that's also part of the brand in a sense, right? Okay. That. Yeah, I want men to be responsible. I want men to understand the role that we play in the lives of our children. I want people to then see it's one thing to say it, but where's the proof, right?
Right.
So then I also have to show, here's what I'm doing with my daughter. Here's us doing different things, right? She was just with me in South Africa. It's like, yo, here she is.
Dude, I was following that blog like I was on the trip.
We were all three of us on that trip.
I was like, right? Man, I wonder if I could text him right now to say that statue right there. You might make that out for me.
But that's it's so important to be able to do those things and be like, oh, okay, this guy's like active in the life of the child. So when he speaks about stuff, it's not he's just saying it. here's the proof, here's the receipts. You know what I mean? So, the other stuff, like, it's none of people's business, but, you know, fatherhood is very important to me. So I'm going to make sure that's there, that people see me actually being, an active father. I'm going to, when my daughter looks on my thing, she has to be able to be like, yo, this guy is speaking proudly of me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's, what does that do for her to be able to be like, yo, my dad is, proud of me or whatever, right? Like these are things that we don't even necessarily think about, but these things are huge.
Very true.
I remember dropping her and her friends off at the Scarborough Town Center, and then I was spying on them a little bit. And the first thing that she did was brought her friends to see my star on the Walk of Fame.
Nice.
And I'm like, yo, that's so dope. I took I took a little picture of them at the thing or whatever, but it's like, yo, so I'm proud of her, but she's proud of me too.
Right, yeah.
But she's a kid. She's not going to be like, yo, I'm proud of you. That's not what they do.
No. But she's going to be like, when you're gone, she's going, all right, now let me show you what my dad did.
There's no way I can pay you back. My plan is to show you that I understand.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah. So
that's dope. I'm not mad at that, man. It's okay. What you got, Smooth, for your internet?
I'm here.
You're here?
Yeah, I'm here.
We're here? We're good? We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We're grateful eternally for this.
I had a great time. Great conversation.
I'm glad. I'm glad because I didn't want to disappoint you and stuff. I don't mind disappointing his ass over there. I see that nigga every week. Regularly, I see him. I go for his throat, and it's all love after we're done. But yeah, I'm gonna hit people off with the So Say the Sons, our words to the wise, and then you tell people how to find you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Say the Sons this week. I try to make it a little poetic for us.
All right.
So Say the Sons this week is a little remix from Plato, actually. Poetry is closer to the truth than history. So Say the Sons. I feel like a lot of times when, even in these spirit of times now, the news would say so much when it comes to history and what's going on currently, but it won't really define like how set amount of people would feel. Like the news say, yeah, we're going through a bootleg recession or a possible recession. And when in somebody's household, when the mortgage rate switched over from like your mortgage was $1,300 to now $2,000, what they're saying is like downplaying what the fuck is happening in your world. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I feel like a lot of times if that person was a poet or that person was a writer, when they're telling you, my life is rough, I got to now come up with an extra $700 to make it, you'd be like, you can feel that. Compared to like how the news would say, like, people are feeling the crunch and the squeeze. No. Poetry throughout the course of years, we turned that over to now some of the musicians. We consider most of the musicians now poets. And we feel and understand most of their struggles.
Absolutely.
Especially when they're going through even the trying times. So, yes.
Yeah.
Once again, man, we're happy to have you. Tell the people how to find you.
All right. It's real easy. On social media, it's Dwayne_Morgan, DWAYNE_Morgan. The website is dwaynemorgan.ca. And if all else fails, just put in my name in Google and everything comes up.
Hey,
there you go.
Well played. Yes. Podical Sons, all streaming platforms possible. PodicalSons.com. You see us. We see you on YouTube, everywhere, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there.
And if you didn't have a pen handy while Dwayne was just shooting off all the socials and so forth like that, don't worry about that. You just follow our page, just jump in. We'll have all the contacts there for you. And if you can, see if you can check out Marv at the Erotic Show and let me know.
Y'all ain't seeing
let me know what he does. You ain't gotta film it or nothing like that.
You ain't getting authority. I'm not giving those. We're not giving those randoms no damn permission. I'm gonna say no to all of them.
Just come back and tell me. Hit me in the DMs.
Once again, folks, thank you for listening to the Podical Sons. Remember, the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love.
Peace.
The Podical Sons was not your average Joseph and Sofa King Marvelous.